Oh. Hey there, folks. This is Nick from EmberGen, or rather Nick from JangFX. We're going to be showing you a preview of EmberGen today, and I guess let's go ahead and get started. All right. Hopefully this is going smoothly. Let's see here. All right. Just making sure that our stream is up and running. It does appear to be going all right. Okay. Looks good to me now, I think. Somebody let me know. Let's see. Is the stream running smoothly? Okay. All right. I think it's good. I think it's good now. YouTube is throwing up some errors saying that it's not enough video or something like that for streaming. But we'll roll with it. All right. So, yep. So what we've got now is I've got a little list of things that I'm going to show off and share. And the first thing I want to share is that we added some free VDBs to our website. So if you guys want to check out what's going on with EmberGen and you haven't bought a license, but you want to test some VDBs in Octane or V-Ray or whatever, you can download free VDBs from our website. Their license is public domain, so you can do whatever you want with them. So yeah, go download them. Just go to our website, go to free VDB examples, and you can go download those there. From here, let's go ahead and hop into this. Let me pop open my notepad again. All right, so we got free VDBs off the list. So first off, what you'll probably notice is that we've got a big fat node graph here, and this right here is going to be the core of what EmberGen is in the beta, and from here on out going forward. In the alpha, we only had just some simple stuff where there were 4 nodes and you click it and then you could see the various simulation stages and things like that. But this is going to be a lot more advanced, but still easy. And so I'll show you how it's easy. For instance, let's say that we've got this little sphere here. The shading on this isn't very pretty or whatever, but just ignore that for now. So like, let's say that we wanted to add in a secondary shape here. You just drag off from the node. It automatically knows what kind of node can connect to this. And so we could come in and say, all right, we want another primitive. And then we could drag that up here. We could drag it over to the side or whatever. And then, of course, from there you can go, to your capsules or your torus or whatever it is, whatever kind of shape you want to have in there. And so that's pretty good. Then we have some stuff where you can blend various primitives. So let's go ahead and delete these things right here. And let's open up a collider node here. So you can have collisions within the software, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Let me actually make sure that my blending loop stuff is turned off. It was trying to loop the simulation, and I'll get into that in a little bit as well. From here, what we can do is I'm going to go into this shape. I'm going to choose blend, and we'll go over to our primitives. We'll select a couple primitives. And now we can see that we have 2 shapes here, and we'll choose like a box or something like that so that we can really show this off. And then let me select my sphere. And so if we wanted to build a custom emitter or anything like that, you can do that now. You can add noise to emitters and create varied shapes and things like that. So inside of our blender, you can do like unions, smooth unions. You can choose the smoothness of this. So, we could even go in and say something like 50 and make it a really smooth shape. And then in here, you can kind of animate it. So it's like a meta balls look or whatever. And so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And so then, we've also got things like subtraction. So if we go here and move this in here, you can see that it is subtracting from that shape. And in this way, you'll be able to, create really cool emitters, create really cool colliders, and get all those custom shapes from within the software. And then, we'll just go into add real quick, and I'll show you how to do some noise. And so let me change this back to a sphere. And so we can also bring in a noise node, and you'll see that now the ball is kind of bumpy. And so we can add some more octaves to this. We can change our scale, and then you can see that now we're adding noise to this particular thing. And so we can change like our bias and things like that to change the way that the noise shape is working. You can change the scale and get all the other frequency controls that you might get from various noises. And so from here, what we can do is we can say, all right, well, we like that, and we, like the way that it's going. You can change the amplitude and things like that from within the Blender node itself. And you can change like the range and whatnot. But from here, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and delete that collider, and then plug this back in. And now you can see that we're emitting from that noisy shape. And so the cool thing is that now, because we have noise, we can pan this noise. And so we'll go to our position right here, and we'll animate that value. You can see that we have some pretty little icons now. So to add things to the timeline or expose pins to the node graph. The exposing pins to the node graph doesn't work yet, but we're getting there. So from here, what we can do is we can just move this noise up, and actually we'll do something like 10. And so now you can see that the noise for this particular emitter is panning. And what we can do is we can go over to our simulation node, choose basic as our simulation mode. Could you incorporate this into Niagara? Is there a way to export to UE other than Flipbook? No, not yet. We're working on that. We hope to have a volumetric integration into Unreal, but I don't know if it'll be through Niagara or whatever. But we're working on it. So from here, you can see that we've got our animated noise, and so that just kind of shows that you can blend various shapes. You can have multiple blenders, all that stuff, and blend pretty much anything that you want. So it is pretty good. From there, let's see what is next on our list. So showed off the new node graph a little bit. So within the simulation node, we've got basic simulation controls. We also have things like looping, so that you can loop simulations. We got various forces, ways to add wind, shredding, all that stuff. And then inside of our renderer, we've added a lot of new things, so that lights are separate nodes now, so you can add multiple lights. And then we've got like our elevation. You've got your light intensity. And then from here, if we wanted to go into the volume node, we have like softer shadows. You can do long range shadows. We also have ways to have direct light contribution to the volume if you're doing things like clouds and you want the volume to glow and things like that. Definitely useful stuff on the shading end that we're doing. And earlier we were having a bug where things were kind of ugly, but luckily it looks like it's solved itself. And so from there, definitely some cool stuff. You can go in, change the ambient color on this, and soon we hope to have a actual color picker for this stuff. But for right now, still stuck in the Stone Age with these little sliders and whatnot. But we are working on that. So from here, we've also got our scene node that takes off what we used to see in the visualization node. So we've still got cartoon rendering and Kuwahara and all that stuff. And then you can change like your color vibrance and whatnot. And speaking of color vibrance, notice that we have a much better looking sky. the atmosphere in the old software was absolutely hideous, and I was like, hey guys, we really got to fix this atmosphere integration. And so now we have a pretty sky to look at. So from there, let's see, we've got our capture node as well. Right now it looks the same, but if I quickly look into our dev chat real quick, we'll be able to see here. let's see. Open link. Okay, here we go. So if you can see here, we have ways to pack some new stuff. So it's going to be really awesome. So you'll be able to have multiple capture nodes, pack various renders into specific channels, and then you'll be able to save this workflow. So if you're exporting flipbooks or whatever it is to your games, or you have a special format that you want for your image sequences with depth and things like that, you will be able to do that and save that. So if we head back over to the software, let's see what's next on our list here. So we showed off the new node graph, and we'll be playing with this node graph throughout the rest of the stream. And also you'll see that there's like these little things over here. This is just our debug stuff. It won't be in the actual software. So yeah. Then from there we also have multiple emitters. So not only can you do multiple shapes and blend your shapes and whatnot, but we have a way to have multiple emitters as well. And what this is useful for is you could do, particles plus primitives, or you could do multiple primitive types. And so we'll go over here and we'll choose a tube or something like that. But then, the cool thing is that from here, we can say that maybe we want this emitter right here to have more pressure, right? So then this emitter is going to have more pressure built up on the emitter, and it can affect the other emitters and things like that. Then if you're using colored smoke or whatever, you could have it so that, let's go here, we'll say colored smoke. And right now this is still kind of buggy, but we'll go over here and let's see, I should be able to change the color in this. I'm not sure which one. It looks like it might be disabled in my current build. But either way, there is a way to change the color of your smoke on a per emitter basis, and then you could have emitters that are emitting various colors in your smoke and all that stuff. But we'll go ahead and change this back to basic. So that shows off multiple emitters, and then one other thing is that whenever you have an emitter offset, so we'll go ahead and delete this emitter and we'll show off this little sphere. So if we set the offset for the shape to 0 out, and then we go ahead and set this emitter up to say 5, but then we go over to our little ball over here, and we add this over to the side. If we rotate the emitter, the sphere here is going to go around that axis. And so if we go to here, we animate our rotation, and so we'll uncheck this loop, and we'll do something like 360. And so now you can see that the emitter will make a full circle. And of course you can change up the axis and do all kinds of crazy stuff just with that. And if you have multiple shapes, you can have some pretty crazy stuff with multiple things swirling and all that. So it's pretty cool. And then from here, like I said, you have pressure that you can add from an emitter now. And we can go over here and we can say, let's increase our buoyancy, let's increase our vorticity, and maybe we want to get some better shading on this so that we can see more of the detail. So we can go over here and increase our extinction shadowing, increase our long range shadows, some of our mid range shadows. And so now you have some really high quality smoke. I don't know how it's showing up on the stream, but on my computer it's pretty high quality. And so now you can see that you've got some pretty cool whooshes going on here. So yeah, so that's emitters and showing off how the primitives and things like that work together. So now let's go ahead and hop in to collisions. Collisions are a big thing, and we've had hundreds and hundreds of requests to add collisions. So let's go ahead and hop into that. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show the limits of my bound, and we're going to create a long area to show off these collisions. But let's go ahead and add in a collider, and we'll add in a torus. I like to show off toruses as a good collider here. And so we'll do something like this. And then one thing you will notice is that if I'm pulling this torus through the smoke, you can see that it is affecting the smoke. And let me go ahead and hide these limits real quick. And then we'll go into our simulation, and we'll do 512 by 512, or sorry, 192 by 512 by 256. So we'll show our limits now, and you will see that we have a bigger bounding box, but the emitters and stuff stay the same, so that is fixed and whatnot. So from here, we'll go ahead and rotate this properly, so say 90. And then if we wanted to change like the velocity inheritance of this particular collider, what you can do is you can change the velocity transfer, so you can make it affect it much less. We can change the repulsion of this so that it's repelling more, and you can see that it's just kind of cutting through the smoke. What we're going to do is we're going to set this emitter up over here, and we're going to add some forces to it. So let's see. Hooray for transform gizmos, right? And so from here, we'll go ahead and set that up kind of like that. Can you import your own geometry? Yes, I'll get to that in just a bit. But can you import animated geo? No, not yet. It's something that we need to do more research on. It's planned, but we just don't have support for it yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in a new force. We're going to set our force strength to something like 20. And let me turn off this emitter animation. That's one thing that's messing stuff up. And so here we go. We've got that. We've got some forces. And let's boost this up to like 500 so we can really see it. All right, so let's do 100. And from here, let's go ahead and change. So one thing is if you hold Alt, you'll be able to see various indicators. And so from here, I'm going to hold Alt and then see which direction my stuff is pointing. And so there we go. And so now you can see that it's impacting the torus. And that's pretty dope. Pretty dope. And so then from there you can have it so that, you know, like you can have the position here animating or whatever. So we'll set something up like this. And let's go ahead and make it say something like that. And so as it's moving, you can see that the torus is moving and it's still doing all the impacts and all that crazy stuff. But yeah, so it's definitely pretty cool. And we hope that you guys can create a lot of cool stuff with animated colliders. And then from here, you know, you can have multiple shapes at one time. So we can have like a sphere here, and so it can hit the sphere and then go over and hit the torus or whatever. It doesn't matter. You can have as many shapes as you want for this, and it's pretty good. So I guess next what we can show is we can show off how you can import mesh colliders. And then from there, we'll go into mesh collisions and things like that. And so, by the way, I hope this stream is running smooth. My graphics card is like on full blast right now. I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but yeah. So from here, what we'll do is let me go ahead and turn off this emitter. So we'll turn off our emitter activity. Let me go ahead and delete these shapes. And what we'll do is we will choose a shape mesh. We're going to open up a mesh file. I'm going to open up this Spitfire plane, and we'll choose voxelize, and this is going to voxelize the mesh. You can see that it took a little bit to load right there. And from here, what we've got is, let's go ahead and show our limits again so that we can see in what axis this is. And we'll go ahead and rotate this airplane. All right, and so we'll rotate the airplane to say, what is that, 270 degrees. And then we can go ahead and move this thing up. And so you can see that in some cases our translators or gizmos don't work for everything. And in some cases you still need to use these little sliders. We're working on that. But from here, you can also choose, you know, how thick your renderer is working and things like that. So, you know, over here we can say, you know, that we don't want it to be as thick, which actually that appears to not work. Oh, it looks like the thickness collision got caught up on the renderer. We might need to remove that other parameter. And so then you can kind of preview, you know, how thick your collisions are going to be and that kind of stuff. So let's do like 0.45 or something. Somebody says, can you hide the mesh colliders during simulation? Yes, you can. So if you go over here, you can uncheck show collider, and that will hide the collider while it's going. And we can show you an example while we do this one here. So let me go ahead and make my emitter go back. and we can see here that we're starting to collide with it. We've got our repulsion up. Maybe we want to change the scale of our mesh here so that it's bigger. And you can see that once it gets outside of the bounds, it's not going to show it anymore. But from here, you can see that it's kind of interacting with the propeller and flowing around the airplane. And we can go up here and we can just kind of, play with this thing and move it around and see it colliding with all of this. And so it's definitely doing that. And then if we go here, somebody wanted to see it. Nope, not collider activity, show collider. And so then you can see here that it is indeed going around that mesh, and you can see that there's no smoke in the silhouette of where the plane was. And so then somebody said, can we have this now so we can be famous on Instagram? Famous on Instagram by tomorrow morning. I'm sorry, but no. We need to make sure that this thing is airtight and pretty solid. But we are hoping to release this by the end of this month. And then from there, if things are broke or whatever, we'll just update it in quick patches. But yeah. And so then from here, to show off a little bit of what you can do, with the meshes and whatnot, if we take this and, we're rotating this, you can see that it's kind of affecting the smoke, and we can increase our velocity transfer over here. We can make it go crazy. And then you can see that it's really kicking around all this smoke. And so it just shows that you can interact with the smoke with meshes and things like that. So yeah. Then let's go ahead and hop into mesh emitters. I think we've done enough for collisions right this second. So let's make this scale like back to 0.5 so that we get the whole plane up in here. We're going to turn that off, and we're going to plug in this shape into our emitter. And you can see that right now it's offset a little bit, and that is because our position on our mesh is offset, and then our emitter is offset as well. And then it looks like our collider is offset. So there we go. So now everything is good to go, and now we can just animate our emitter. Or actually, we should probably animate our shape instead, so that everything moves with it. So from here, right now you cannot choose where the emission is coming from on the meshes. That's something that we need to add in the future. Maybe paint on, the voxels of where you want it to emit from, or have a texture, or emit from certain vertices or vertex color or whatever. Right now we don't have that. It's just full on emissions. So what we'll do is we'll go over here and set our position. And so let's go ahead and set this up to like over here. And then we're going to have this plane just kind of come down, something like this. And let's go over here and we'll set this down like that. And so now you can see that we've got this plane that's kind of flying and it's like balling up all this smoke. And so we'll turn off that force emitter. And the reason why it's doing this with all the smoke and whatnot is because we have it to inherit velocity. But if we turned off that velocity inheritance, you would see that it's going to just collide with the smoke and have a big smoke trail that's coming through the scene. And then you say, okay, well, my smoke is fading a little bit fast, and I don't feel like it's interacting fast enough or whatever. So we can change our buoyancy to make this smoke go up faster. We can also go to our emitter and increase the pressure amount that's coming from this particular emitter. And then some other things that we can do is we can go to our simulation and we can tell it that we want it to dissipate smoke slower. And so now we have this cool little trail following the airplane or whatever. That's probably too much buoyancy if we were trying to do some kind of smoke trail or whatever. And so we can do something like 55. And then we might want to make the plane go faster. And so here we go, plane's going a little bit faster. And then you could speed all this stuff up, inside of your external software if you're doing VDBs or whatever it may be. And so then from here, what we could do is we could say, okay, we've got that, but we want to add combustion to this. And so let's go into our emitter and we'll increase our fuel rate, decrease our other stuff. So now you have some fire coming out of this. And then we want to maybe increase our smoke rate so we can increase, the amount of smoke gain that it's got. And then from there, you can tweak the fire shading and all that stuff. And we can go into our volume and say that, we want something that's a little bit darker. And so we've got that. And so now you've got some really dark smoke. And now you're starting to get something that's pretty badass. And so we can hide our limits there so that we're not seeing that anymore. And then another thing I'll mention about colliders and mesh emissions and all that stuff is you can change like the roughness values of your colliders, and you can make them different colors. So if you want to see the blue sphere or the green sphere or whatever it may be, you've got that going for you. So yeah, and we've also got like metallic and stuff like that. So from there, that's showing off our collisions, importer mesh collisions, mesh emitters. So yeah, we could do another scene real quick showing off mesh collisions, I think. So let's just go over here, and we'll go ahead and change that so that there's no more position being animated. We can go to our emitter and turn off our activity. And then from here, what we'll do is we can say, let's go ahead and import another mesh. We'll do this house model that I found online here. And let's go ahead and voxelize that. And let's fix our rotation and whatnot. And so then, let me show my limits. And what we'll do is we'll change this to like 256 in total. So something like that. And then we've got our mesh. Let's go ahead and center it and then bring it up a little bit. And so then one thing that you can do is that you can combine your colliders and such. So say if we wanted like a better ground collider than using the bounding box or whatever, we can go over here and we can say, let's go ahead and bring in a primitive. And we've got our box, and we want to change our width so that it goes through. And we want to make this like so that it's right on the ground of this house. And we want to change our depth of the box. And then we can kind of move this thing down to the bottom. Maybe we want to move our mesh down a little bit. And so let's do like 5 or something like that. And so now we've got this cool little scene. And you could go back into your blend node and things like that from here. And so then the cool thing is just showing you how easy the node graph is. If you go over here and select this, you can just drag off, and it's going to tell you the exact things that you can plug into. So say we want to blend again, we want to do some noise, we change our scale, add another octave or two, and we plug this into our shape. And let's go ahead and delete the collider thing. And we want to change this to add. And so now we've got some noisy ground or whatever. And then from here, what we can do is just let's turn on our emitter again. And now you can see that the house is on fire or whatever. But let's say that we wanted to break that shape and we just wanted to have a simple sphere emitter again. We can go over here, and now we can see that it's colliding with all this other stuff. And it's pretty good. And so, man, that's some thick smoke. But yeah. Is there an auto-align to bounding box? Not right this second. That's not anything that we've particularly thought of or whatever, but it's something that could come in the future. And so from here, some stuff in like our volume shading, if we wanted to make this fire a little bit better, you can change like your fire shading, and we can change the smoke density clamp a little bit. And it looks like a lot of this is actually fuel. So we can turn off our render fuel so that we're just seeing our smoke. And so we've got that. You can see that we've got some raging flames here. We can increase our density a little bit. You can change like your maximum temperature. We can change our temperature adjustment. And then if we went over into our scene color, or our scene, you can change like the color vibrance of the scene and things like that. And one thing that we hope to have once the beta releases is we hope to have color gradients so that you can gradient all this stuff. And I mean, this right here isn't the best shading I've ever seen on smoke or anything like that, but we're getting there. And so from here, we can adjust some of this and play with it and whatnot. It's a bit more difficult to get this looking really good. But yeah, it's just super quick. And you can play with all your stuff, and in this case, like, flames are shooting out because we've got some really high pressure on this emitter. And so if we zeroed that out, you would see that we have something that looks a little bit more like this. And so I think that this kind of concludes showing off our mesh emitters and colliders and stuff like that. And so, of course, we'll have better ways to smooth out our bounds and better ways to shade this fire so that it looks really good. But what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to go ahead and click a new preset. And let me see what's next on our list. So let's say that we're making flipbooks for games and stuff like that. And one of the things is if you're making flipbooks, you don't particularly know what they're going to look like and all that stuff. Yep, skeletal mesh animation, it's coming. It's just a matter of time. But from here, what we've got is this emitter, and let's go ahead and just add some additional pressure. Let's increase our temperature so that we get some better burning fire, and let's just kind of roll with this. Maybe we want to increase our smoke rate or something like that. So anyway, let's say that we want to make this a flipbook or whatever. And so what we can do is we'll go over here. We can go to our preview window, and this thing is glitchy. So I'm just going to preview this to see where our frame is going to be. And then from here, let's say that we went to our capture node, and we wanted to just go ahead and generate this thing. Looks like it's going to repeat or whatever. And so there we go. We're generating our little flipbook. But now if you wanted to see what this thing looked like, if it's going to work here, is it not going to work? It was working earlier, but this right here is a way to do a flipbook playback, but it doesn't appear that it wants to work right now. Somebody fix that. I know devs are watching the stream. But anyway, I promise that there is a way to preview the actual flipbook. Ronan says, can you create a seamless loop with the flipbook? Yes, you can. And so one thing I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to just restart EmberGen here and see if this thing works again. So we'll go back to our capture node, and we'll go ahead and click generate flipbook. And I don't know why it's not generating on the first frame there. That's really odd. Okay. More bugs to solve. It's funny that whenever you show it on the stream, everything breaks. Funnily enough, this is the only problems we've really had this time. So let's see. Don't capture that. Let's go ahead and choose reset when looping, I suppose. Let's go back to our capture node and let's click generate flipbook. There we go. Okay, so now something's generating, and we'll go into our preview, which is hideous, and let's go ahead here back to our flipbook, and we'll generate again. So now you can see that this is a little bit bigger. Yes, it is recorded. This is recorded. It'll be a video on demand that you can view on our thing. But let's see if this loads. No, it does not. It's funny. It was working before the stream, and I was like, okay, I tested it. It works. But it does not work. Okay. So from there, what we can do is we can go ahead and show some looping stuff. And so this will show that you can do looping flipbooks. That's one of the next things on my list. And so a little scratch off show the ability to show flipbook previews, because it doesn't work. We've already seen the separation of our bounds from our voxel count. Just so that I can show real quick, if you go to your simulation node now and you up your voxel count, you'll see here that the emitter stays the same size, but you just add more bounds and more voxels for you to simulate in. So if we go over here and change this smoke dissipation rate to something higher, it's gonna dissipate less, and now you can see that we're not hitting the bounds. And so yeah, so that just shows that you can properly add larger bounds and things like that to simulate in now. So we'll go ahead and apply our resolution here. My PC is not a NASA supercomputer. This is just a GTX 1080. So yeah, just a GTX 1080. Our minimum requirement is a GTX 1060. So let's go ahead over here, and we're going to create a looping flipbook. And I think, or not, maybe not a looping Flipbook, we'll just create a looping simulation. So what I'll do is let's go ahead and add some more resolution to our Y over here, and we'll increase our top bounds over there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a detailed smoke plume, maybe say a VDB set or whatever, that loops perfectly, a perfect loop. And so what we'll do is we've got this fire. Let's go ahead and change this to basic so that we just get smoke. Let's go to our emitter, turn off our fuel rate, and increase our smoke rate. We'll go into our simulation, and let's increase our buoyancy, I don't know, like 130. And then we'll go and add some wind. So let's go ahead and make sure that we've got wind. Let's add that over there. All right, and so now we've got a cool little smoke plume that's blowing over here in the distance. And let's decrease this, this wind speed. And then we can go to our primitives. We can add a little bit of an additional pressure rate. And so now we've got something that looks like this. It's a little bit more billowy. And then we'll go into our simulation, and we'll change this to BFECC. And now you can see that we're getting a really detailed plume here. And I'm going to change the color to white just because I think that might show up better on stream here. And we'll increase our extinction shadowing. And yeah, I think that's pretty good. It's not the best not the best shading I've ever seen, but we'll deal with that, and we'll turn off that, and that's looking pretty good, at least from this angle. All right, so let's say that we wanted to loop this simulation. So if we want to loop this simulation, what we need to do is we'll go over here, we'll turn off reset when looping. We're going to do a let's say I don't know, 60 frame loop. So we'll do a 60 frame loop. We're going to say capture our initial state. We're going to do a blending loop. This volumetric loop blending parameter doesn't do anything. And then if we go here, we go ahead and turn off that capture initial state. And so now you can see that it just captured our initial blend. And then you can see the pop right there. So if we change this to like Quintic as our blend mode, now it is a seamless looping simulation, roughly. there's probably some things that we need to do to tweak it a little bit. We'll have it so that you can have better curves, but you can see that it is trying to loop that. Maybe we could do cubic. That might be a little bit better for us. Yeah, and so we can see that we've got a pretty decent looping simulation here. And then I think if we choose this B, this does it more like Houdini does it. And that looks like it might be a much better seamless loop. So yeah, that's just showing that you can do a seamless loop in 3D, and then we'll also have the way so that if you have your Flipbook, you can use like the last frames and blend them into the others if you have something else different. But yeah, so you can have perfect loops now. And so it's pretty cool. And then you can preview, like, you know, what is my A gonna look like. So this right here is simulation A that is blending, and then whenever it resets, you can see the reset. And it looks like B is actually our Houdini type blend mode. But if we go over to blend, then that's actually what they're mixed up. B and blend is mixed up, so that's why I'm selecting it. And so it's blending those two things, and then you got the sim blend, and it all blends in. And so yeah, so that just shows that you can blend these bigger simulations, and we've got some other stuff where you can do, like, you know, quadratic smooth step and things like that, and we'll probably have a way to plug in your own custom curve if you want to play with that kind of stuff to blend your simulations. And another thing is we probably want to do something like, you know, a loop of, you know, 120 frames or something like that, so that we're not blending it so harshly, you know, over such a small time. So here you can see that, I mean, you almost can't even tell. A little bit you can tell, but who cares? It's a perfect blend. So from there, yeah, so that just shows that we've got some good blending stuff coming up. And the last thing I've got to share for now that's a major addition is up-resing your simulations. So let's go over here, and we're going to change this to, like, I don't know, 9.2 by 9.2 by 9.2. So something ridiculously small. And we're going to bring this little emitter back into here. And we're going to make this like 0.5 in size. And so let's say that we've got basically the same thing here. And let's turn off our looping and blending and all that stuff. So we've got this little tiny emitter. It's a little thing, and let's say that we want to up-res this. So what you do is you go to upscaling, and so first off we'll just choose ×2, and so you can see that it adds a little bit more detail. You do ×3, a little bit more detail, and then we go to ×4, which is our maximum, and then you've got quite a bit more detail, particularly in some of the little tiny wisps and things like that. And so you can get a higher resolution out of these small sims. And so if we do 92 × 4, this is essentially 368 cubed is what this this resolution is like. And the shading on this isn't perfect, and that's one reason why it's not looking terribly realistic. But if we tweaked a little bit, I'm sure that we could get something a little bit better. And one thing is we might have things that are a little bit too clamped. And so if we add some lighter smoke density, it'll look a little bit better. So yeah, from that shows some of our up-resing stuff. And if we go over here and let's crank this up to like 192, 192, 192, and let's turn this off just for the sake of not crashing. And then we go over here and change this back to ×4. Stream might lag, who knows? but this is a much larger up-res of that particular simulation. I hope my voice is still clear. I don't know what it's like whenever it's simulating this bad. And so then we can see that we definitely have some higher resolution stuff coming up. And so yeah, it's definitely a higher resolution. Some of our billows are still the same. We would probably have to increase our vorticity or something like that to get some better billows and stuff like that at a small resolution like this. And it also doesn't help that our emitter is kind of small, so we can boost the size of that. Oh shit! Okay, it lagged out a little bit. so anyway, whenever you're simulating something like this and it's quite big, it's difficult to work with. So yeah. If we go over here and we do this again, 96, apply a new resolution. So there we go. So now we can see that there is a higher resolution on this particular upstreaming. Yeah. So 4x upstreaming is pretty intense. Yeah. So you can definitely do up-resing. We can apply this and we can see that we've got our upscaling and things like that. I'm not sure that our lighting is scaled to our upscaling, and that might be another reason why our lighting isn't matching this volume. So yeah. So other than that, I think that explains why I'm not having very good results on this, but that's something that we're gonna have to fix. So yeah. So other than that, that's kind of showing off our stuff. Does anybody have any questions or anything in particular that they want to see before we get off the stream? I'm taking some requests now. Let's see here. Any requests? Any questions? Let's see what we got. I'll answer what I can. Let's turn off our shadow softness and we'll increase our stuff here. And we can turn up our direct light contribution and make some puffy clouds here. Let's do something like that. Okay, if I wanted to make a static cloud or something like that, auto keyframing, water, all that stuff. Okay, so multiple point lights available. I don't know if it's available yet. No, but it should be available probably once the beta is out. I think we'll probably encompass that, and if not, it'll be available in a patch. So yeah. Roman says, can pressure create wispy smoke in combination with vorticity? To a degree. So one thing with wispy smoke is we need a lower vorticity. We'll change our BFECC to something like Euler. You can see that the smoke is getting wispier now. And then from here, we also have something where you can change the smoke diffusion. And so we can pull this back a little bit. And let's maybe emit less. This is a really high smoke rate. So something like that, maybe. Okay, and then from there, so this is kind of wispy, but then maybe we want to change some of our volume settings over here. Let me turn off this direct light contribution stuff, and so then you can see that we've got some decently wispy stuff. Somebody also said, will loops be will loops be correctly exported as VDBs? Yes. So you can have perfect loops export as a VDB. So definitely something that's coming. And so yeah, so here you can kind of see that we've got some wispy smoke that somebody asked. And so you can do wispy smoke, and then you can come over here into your simulation if you want to add like some chaos or something like that. We can go over here and add chaos to our stuff. And so that just shows that you can do some wispier stuff. If you had a vector field, you could plug stuff into there. And then inside of our volume node, if we kind of increase this density a little bit, you can see that we do have some wispier stuff. But once you start adding vorticity to this, that's whenever you start getting some of those bigger billows and whatnot. So yeah, but yeah, you just have to play with it. You can get some better wispy stuff. But for like real serious wisps, we plan to add like particle support, kind of like Krakatoa and things like that, so that you can eject particles inside the viewport instead of voxels, and that'll allow you to get some much better wisps and ink drop effects and things like that. But for now, we're stuck with voxels, and there is some limitation, at least from what I've done playing around, that you can get with this kind of stuff for wispy things. Somebody says you can get a better computer for $5,500. I'm sure you can. With what money? Y'all need to buy licenses. Somebody says make a static cloud VDB shape. Yeah, so if I was going to make like a static cloud or something like that, let's go ahead over here and let's delete that primitive. And let me just select this and turn off my shredding and my disturbance. So yeah, so what we'll do is we'll preview a quick emitter here, and we'll go into our shapes. We got a primitive, and let me do a blend. We're going to blend some noise into this. And let's go ahead and increase our octaves, maybe to like 2 or whatever. Let's go ahead and do that, and we'll disconnect from the collider. And then we do a add over here. And so from here, we've got this, and let's go ahead and warp this thing a little bit. So we'll increase our amplitude, increase our scale a little bit, change our bias so that we don't get such hard plateaus. And inside of our amplitude, we can kind of shrink things down a little bit. And so we've got something that looks a little bit like that. Maybe we want to play with our noise a little bit more. And then maybe our lacunarity. Yeah, so something like that. And just kind of playing with our amplitude here. And then what we could do is maybe add another blender, and we want to compose like a torus or something like that. And so let's go here, and we'll disconnect that link. We'll plug this into shape, and we want to do maybe a smooth union, and we'll say 25, something like that. And I don't particularly know what I'm doing. I'm just playing with something, thinking of what might make a cool cloud shape. And then maybe what we want to do is blend some extra noise. So we'll go over here, do blender again. And let's go ahead and disconnect that link, plug that in. Holy shit. I've never done this before, but we're playing with it. We're seeing what's happening. Okay, there we go. All right. So from here, we're building this custom shape, and you did not see that glitch in the matrix, I promise. So from here, we've got that, and it's looking like we might need to do another add. I don't know. I'm not sure what the right math behind this thing is. Let's delete this and see what this shape looks like. Okay, so yeah, so we need to do add here, which it is adding. Oh, I'm adding the wrong things. There we go. See, a little bit of live stream debugging here. And so yeah, so now we've got this, and oh yeah, look, you can see that noise pins and stuff like that. So from here, we've got that, and we'll change this blender and change some of the bias and stuff. Maybe do that. Yeah, I don't know. We're just doing something, seeing what's gonna happen. All right, so let's go ahead and do that, and boom, there we go. And in this particular blender, we will do a union. And so now we have this crazy noisy shape. And then let's say that we wanted to plug this into our emitter. And let's go ahead and into our simulation. And by the way, we're making clouds. we're making clouds. So if we go over here, and what is going on? Okay, so I got my wind speed and my wind chaos. I'm going to turn all that stuff off. And there you go. There's kind of like a cloud puff. We can hide our limits. And maybe what we can do is take our other shape, something like that, and boom, now you've got a bigger thing. Or you can go over here and we can change our buoyancy to be practically 0, and then boom, you got a cool little cloud puff. And if you want more vorticity and more billows and such, we can go over here, change this to BFECC. And boom, now you've got a cloud puff. And so then from that noise and all that stuff, you can build various cloud puffs and build out your shapes and stuff like that. And what I would do is inside the capture node, I would just export a particular frame of this if you want clouds, and do that. And then if you want to kind of test some cloud-like shading, we can build some cloud-like shading here. So let's go ahead and increase up our direct intensity. And maybe we want to make our extinction color a little bit on the blue side. So, nope, that is the wrong way, buddy. 0.6, so that's a little bit too intense, say 0.8, 0.9. So yeah, so something like that. And then over here in our other stuff, we'll do like 0.4, 0.3. And so now we've got some kind of blue tints. And maybe we want to bring this up a little bit more, like 0.9 on both of those. 0.95. That way we have less blue in the light over here. Yeah, I see Alex saying put a point light behind it. It would look insane. I'm sure it would look insane, but we don't have point lights integrated in this current version. So yeah, so there you go. You've got some stuff, and then you can change like your scattering radius to blend some of this stuff out. You can see that stuff is being affected on the clouds and whatnot. But yeah, so boom, you can make some cloud puffs with some procedural noise and all that stuff. And of course, you can tweak it, get better cloud setups and all that stuff. But I mean, this is just some basic stuff. And then, you can expand your bounds and play with it more. But, and one thing that we also hope to do is make it so that you can plug in, say, this particular shape right here that we have, and you could make that shape a volume as well, so that you can do procedural noise-based clouds and things like that with better masks and things, so that you're not fucking around with trying to make it emit right. You could just build the volume out of these primitives and stuff like that, so that you can do that. So let me scroll back up and find some more questions. Has auto keyframing been implemented? No, it is not. Water simulation is coming in a totally separate software called LiquidGen. It's something that's coming up in the future. Can this be taken into iClone? I have no clue. How easy would it be to make this into Unreal? It'd be kind of hard since we don't have volumetric support for Unreal yet. Waterfalls, can't do it. Will loops be exported in VDBs? Yes. How would you vect the particles through the velocity field once it's in Unreal? We're going to have a vector region, FGA, vector field export type stuff, so that you can do that, Andreas. Let's see. When will the beta be released? This beta will be released sometime this month. Probably the very last day, probably like March 31st or something. We're not completely sure, but we're really banking on it being out this month. Oh yeah, here's one thing I can show you. We can change our, how do you do it? Smoke diffusion. Look at that. And then you can get some crazier detail up in that stuff. It's kind of funky. We need to work on our rendering a bit. There's some glitches, but yeah. So you can add more detail. You can diffuse the shit out of it too if you want to, and then it's just not even gonna show up. So yeah. So there's that. Let's see. How the vector fields come out. Any visualizations of the imported shape? We will have to do that sometime after the initial beta release. We'll do it in a patch. It's not going to make it into our initial release here. Let's see. Can you do a tornado of fire, for example? Not right this second, because some of our stuff is still funky with vector fields and stuff, so I can't. Actually, you know what? One thing I can show. Let's see. Let's go ahead and delete all these crazy shapes, and I will show you a hurricane. So let's go over here. Let's do a primitive. Let's do a torus. And so then let's turn off our pressure. I don't need any pressure at all on this. A selected cylinder. We'll select a torus, and then let's increase our minor radius so that we have a small eye. And then we'll go over to our simulation. We're going to select like 128 as our height, but we'll do 384 over there. Okay, so now we've got this new resolution here, and that's a little bit on the big side. But we'll go over here to our forces, and we'll create a line force. And so if we hold Alt, we can see where this line force is going to be. And so then, like, what we want is the smoke to twist around this axis. Let's see if I can remember how to do this this hurricane. Okay, so yeah, so now we've got some smoke blowing out from the center here, and we might want to add a little bit of let's see, turn down this smoke decay so that decay is quicker. And then let's go over here to our smoke diffusion, set that to 0. And so then if we go back to our forces, we can kind of add into our repel strength. Maybe we can make that negative so that we're sucking in a little bit as we're repelling. And then let's turn off our stuff. Hang on, let me turn off this volume shit. All right, there we go. And looked really bright, but let's just turn up our light stuff here. And then we'll go into our volume and add some more stuff there. We'll do something like that. Short range shadows so that we can see some of this detail a little bit better. And then that is completely white. And we can do something like 1, 1, 1. And like 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. And then we can change our ambient shadowing. And so there you go. We're kind of getting like a hurricane looking thing. And then if we set our force to like push upwards quite a bit, there we go. We'll get rid of that torus shape. Oh, nope, that's too much. Too much. We'll do something like 5 maybe. And we could just increase our top stuff. But yeah, so then from the top there, we've got that. And let's go ahead and pause that. I'll keep it running so that YouTube doesn't freak out. And we can increase our density here. And so then you have, more clouds or whatever. That just shows that you can create varying forces and stuff like that. And then if we had a noisy emitter here, you could do that. Somebody says, what about a tornado? You cannot, you can't quite do it yet. We would need vector field integration for that, and the vector fields don't work in this version yet. So if you want to see a tornado, go look in our alpha. We have a preset for like a fire tornado and stuff like that. So yeah, so there was showcasing of some forces. Somebody said holy. Yes, this is quite holy. Let's see. What about point clouds? No point clouds are planned right now. Can you explain what pressure really does? Pressure just adds pressure to the emission. So what we can do is for pressure, I've got a really cool demo that I can show for that. So imagine that let's go ahead and delete that force. And so we've got this stuff here. Let me go ahead and I guess let's just max out our Y. We'll do like 192 by 192, and so we've got that. All right. And so now what we'll do is we'll add a shape collider, and so we have quite a few new primitives, as you can see, and from here we've got a tube that we can add. Let me turn off my emitter so that we don't have to deal with it right now. And so let me show over here, and we'll add this, and let's go ahead and rotate this thing. And actually, if I rotate it in X, yeah, okay, so just -90. And so, like, let's say with pressure, if you had an explosion inside of this tube, I mean, that thing is just, like, the force that's going to come out of this tube is tremendous. And so pressure allows you to emulate that. So if we go back to our emitter and we increase our pressure, right, to something huge, you can see that this thing is just going to fill up the bounds, tremendously fast because there's so much pressure behind this emitter. And so you can kind of see where I'm going. If I put that in this, it's going to be pretty good. So we'll go over here. We'll do like 1 as our emitter size. I will turn our pressure down to 0 so that I can put this in there. And so we'll put this thing inside the tube, kind of like that. And let's go ahead and make it so that our tube thickness is much thicker so that we can really confine this stuff. And there we go. I think that's pretty good. And I can't quite see in there, but oh, there we go. See the handy dandiness of holding Alt and showing our indicators. Okay. Oh, nope, never mind. It don't matter. It didn't give a fuck. All right. So here we go. So we've got this in this tube, and whenever I add pressure to this, it's going to just shoot out. And if I lower this randomness intensity and then restart the sim, you can see that it's really bursting out of this tube because like all the pressure in this simulation is building up, and so it's going to shoot out of this tube. And so then what we could do is we say, okay, well, I mean that's pretty cool. So let's add another primitive, and actually we need to add a separate emitter. So this is where separate emitters come in. So we'll have an emitter with no pressure, and so we'll go ahead and turn that emitter off so that we have this. We'll create a new shape, and we've just got some basic smoke or whatever that's going on over here. It's just doing its own thing and whatnot, and then this other emitter is going to come in and blast it. And so boom, you can see, boom, they're working with each other, and it's all contained within this bounding box. All of it works together. So yeah. And so that just shows that you can do that kind of stuff. And so one cool thing is that we could animate the activity of this emitter. So we'll say it's off from there, and then right here it turns on. And so boom, emitter's off, emitter's off, emitter's off, and then it's turning on. Boom. And so then that way you can do explosions and all kinds of stuff with this. So yeah, so that just shows that you can do some cool bursts and whatnot. And yeah, so the beta is going to be pretty intense. And then with this, it's cool because with the pressure, it just kind of shows that with this, like, you don't need custom forces. You can just use the confinements of a particular object to give you some cool forces. And so then, like, if we went over here and we added another primitive, actually, let's add in. I downloaded a Porsche mesh online that I quite like. So let's go ahead and voxelize this thing. Okay, there we go. Thickness collision. And so now we've got this cool car inside of our thing here, and let's give it some just I don't know, an orange color, and we'll add some good roughness to it so that we got some reflections, and we'll add some metallic color to it. Oh my gosh, that's hideous. But hideous with a purpose. Okay, there we go. Something like that. All right, so we've got these two things, and now if we take our mesh and we just, I don't know, rotate it like this or something. Boom. And actually it might be too much force here. So I might need to increase our collision thickness to be quite a bit. And we'll see what's happening. Let me just do that. Okay. Yeah, so some of it is going through because there's just so much force. So we can try to create better repulsion. Yeah, so by repelling it a little bit, it does kind of solve it. But what you might need is more sub-steps or something like that to prevent this. So yeah, so you can do collisions. And then somebody asked, oh, to turn off the collider. So there you go. There's the colliders that are turned off, and you can see them interacting together. And if we turn off this repulsion, you can see that we get more smoke and stuff like that. And then within this emitter, we can increase our smoke rate by a lot. And which that's kind of crazy. We can turn down our ambient shadowing or whatever. So yeah, we've got stuff like that. And let's turn down our density and whatnot. But yeah, so you can go in and shade it better or whatever after you play with it a little bit. But yeah, so that just kind of shows off some of our collisions and whatnot. Let's go back up. So yeah, so hopefully that explains pressure. Can you create fluid simulations using smoke? I mean, probably, but I'm not gonna mess with it right now. Let's see. Can you make flipbooks of other volume data like temperature or velocity? Yes, you can. So within your flipbook view, actually, let's select this. Sorry if somebody gets triggered by that flashing. It goes crazy. Yeah, so you can see right here that some of these channels, they're not completely fixed yet. We need to go through and fix it all for the beta. But you can export like temperature and motion vectors and all kinds of stuff for your flipbooks. So you can export pretty much whatever you want. How is this possible in real time? The power of the GPU. And we have wizards on our team who do all this hard stuff. Yeah, Jeremiah said magic. He's on our team. He is correct. Magic. We are aliens. If you watch X-Files season 4, episode 23, I'm in it. No, I'm just kidding. But we are aliens. Let's see. Put a point light behind it. Oh yeah, I can't. Yeah, flipbooks can be made with everything. Clouds in seconds. Any PDG or Houdini style wedging for things like those clouds you're making. I have no clue what that means. I'm sorry, him. You'll have to explain what you mean. Let's see. Reading through all the comments, I've been working on this stuff. Okay, there are importers. Why would you want VDB? People are lazy. Look, Twitter ready. Okay, yeah. So yeah. So that's everything. Does anybody have any other questions? Any other questions? Yeah, and so one cool thing I'll do real quick with this the setup that we have is let me do this, and actually I'll go ahead and delete this collider. We'll make this a box, and any plans to add forces to fractured geo? If we get some good stuff. And as in that, sorry, that was a bullshit answer. If we get destruction and stuff like that into the software that you can import, then I'm sure that it'll do forces. Yes, you can spill things like fuel by having, you know, different fuel and things like that. We don't have a smoke attractor right this second. I just saw wedging ways to save 100 variations of clouds at once. Yes, we will probably have that, but we might only have that in like a in the studio tier of things. I'm not quite sure where that's going to come out, but I think that might be a studio option for our studio or enterprise licenses. But plans to save out tons of variations is planned. I just don't know if it'll be directly in the indie. I know some of you guys are going to hate that, but you know, we might give like a limit of like only 10 or something like that you can export if you're an indie license or something, because I see it more useful for big studios. Yeah, so let me turn off this pressure rate. And what we'll do is we will add in a new force. So we do have vector field, but I'm not going to try it. I'm not confident in it. We do have a point force, apparently. And so apparently this repels. And so there we go. you can kind of see it repelling in some particular thing. It says it's in world space. But yeah, I reckon if I put this thing in the center, we might have our point force go out a little bit better, which it does appear to be sending things out in a different area. I don't know. So some of this stuff needs better visualizations and stuff like that. With line, you know, if you hold Alt, you can see it. And so let me turn off this activity. Okay. And so so from there, since we've got this, man, this is some really dark stuff, this shading. Okay, there we go. There's some better shading. And so yeah, so with some of our forces here, we've got this stuff with our line, so we can do you know 50 or whatever, and then you can change the position of the. Actually, you can't change the position of it quite, but you can change the rotation of this, so that you can make your point go wherever or whatever. And one thing I will note is that you can do a line force, say just from the emitter, or you can do a line force in the entire simulation, like so. And so now the entire simulation has a line force going through it. And then if we rotated that line force, you would see everything changing. So you can have forces on the emitter side, or you can have forces on the simulation side. And actually, I probably, whenever I was making the hurricane, I probably should have made our twist strength inside of our actual simulation. So now you can see that we've got some crazier stuff here, and now it's looking more like a tornado. But I believe that once I added the other thing, the torus, that's whenever I got the eye and all that stuff for the hurricane. And this right here would probably be a better way to get the stuff. So then we can suck some of this in. Let's say like -15. And so yeah, so you can create some pretty weird some pretty weird forces going on over here. Hey, that looks kind of like a tornado. Let me turn this collider off and not show it. And so yeah, so now we have something like that, and it's kind of like a tornado. It's not very predictable because it's going crazy, but I mean, it's something. And if we took this and increased our stuff there, said 192, yeah. So there you go. Hey, look, we accidentally made something kind of like a tornado, kind of resembles a tornado. So yeah, so that's what happens whenever you plug forces into the entire simulation versus yeah. So you can go crazy with black body stuff again. If I go over here and change our fire smoke mix ratio, and let me turn off like our emissive scattering or whatever, and then we go into this and change like our temperature adjustment, and then we go into the scene and we want to swap some colors or something like that. You can still do crazy stuff. We're just gonna have some better color pickers, and we'll actually have gradients and things like that, so that you can do some crazier things with your colors and whatnot. So yeah, hopefully that answers. And Gil, he mentioned that as well. 1NE says collisions in alpha beta. It's only in the beta. So you can still do some crazy stuff, and you can come in and increase your bloom intensity. Holy crap. But yeah, so you can do whatever you want in terms of coloring your stuff, and increasing your temperature, your adjustments, or your black body, whatever. It doesn't matter. You can still do all this stuff. We're not taking anything away from you. We're just adding stuff and putting it up in a different form. So yeah, so back to the forces. So that kind of shows like our repel strength and twist strength and all that stuff. And then, like I said, you can have like a world space force if you plug it into the simulation, or you can have a local space force to the emitter. And like if I do like a 50 here and I turn off world space, and then I think if I rotated the emitter, yeah. So then if you animate the rotation of the emitter, now since the force is local to this emitter, we'll have it so that you can create like these pinwheel effects or whatever with the fire. And let me turn some of this fire down here, just a little bit on the bright side. So yeah, then we can do like, we'll have some thicker, crazier fire or whatever. We could probably go into our simulation and cool this stuff down a lot quicker. So yeah, so then you have something that looks like this. So that just shows that you can create local forces within an emitter, and you can have world space and whatever. So if we went here and we checked world space, sorry, it's a bug. Looks like a bug. Then again, I don't know. I'm not sure. Programmers, help me. What is this supposed to do? I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, so now we've got like a cool little fireball, and then you say, okay, well, like in the alpha, if you wanted to add more, space or whatever, it's gonna be quite difficult. But in this, you just wrong axis. We'll do 192 on that again. There we go. Now you can just add more voxels around it if you want more space. So there you go. And then here, if you say, oh well, it's going through the floor, I don't want it to do that. Well, just block the ground or whatever. And so now we've got a blocking ground, and whenever it goes through, it's gonna kind of collide with the ground. And if we take this primitive and we set it up, oh no, I can't do that because the emitter needs to go up. Yeah, so there we go. It's kind of getting slow. My GPU is struggling a little bit. So yeah, so there you go. That just kind of shows that you can do some crazier stuff here and still collide with the ground, and you can actually collide with all things. And so if we go back to this collider, and we can do show collider, and what we can do is make this thing kind of go back and forth. And so now you can see that we're cutting through the smoke or whatever, and that it interacts with it. And so one thing you'll notice is that the simulation is going slow as fuck, right? I say slow as fuck. This is faster than anything else out there still. Other tools, right? But from here, what we've got is we've got this collider that's being able to interact with all the smoke and stuff. And then I was speaking about how fast and smooth it's still going. The UI is now in a separate thread, and so are the gizmos and stuff. So you can still interact in the viewport smoothly, and then it'll update whenever it gets a chance. And so that's why you can kind of see that the thing right here, the gizmo, is moving beforehand. That's because it's in the UI thread, and it's telling you where it's going to be, and then it eventually catches up. So yeah, and then you might be wondering, well, why on earth you know, is the gizmo right here whenever the cube is up here. Well, the reason for that is because the emitter is offset. If I set this to 0, and then, oh, nope, that was the wrong thing. Let's go back to 13 on that. If I went to 0 on my collider and then chose it, here we go. There we go. Now it's all centered and zeroed out. Yeah, I'm using a GTX 1080. So yeah, let me go ahead and turn off this giant volume. We'll do like 255 or something, 256, 192. There we go. That way this thing goes faster. So yeah, let's see. On animated characters and stuff like that, not yet. We're not going to have it in our initial beta. We're only going to have it sometime afterwards. We'll include it in a patch or something like that during the beta. So before version 1, but it's just something that we need to do more research on. So yeah. Let's see. We've got our little Taurus, and it's cool because I mean you can just come in and play with this stuff all day. Your boss is like, hey, I see that you're doing VFX on your screen, and turns out you're just playing around all day. So we're giving you guys a free pass at work to just have fun. Yep. So yep, as Gil said, just static geometry for now. And so yeah. So you have like rotational velocity and stuff for collisions, and you can see that here. You can't really tell, but I'm spinning the Taurus. You can see that it's really spitting out that fire and stuff. If I yeah, that wouldn't work. Bloop 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 bloop. So yeah, so lots of cool stuff. Raphael, the win is this month, probably March 31st. We're working really hard to get this done. There's still a lot more things that we need to add and get finished and polished up. But yeah, we're working on it. Can say that the flame you have spread. Can say that flame you have spread up to another primitive as it passes by. I'm not really sure what you mean, but I mean you can have as many colliders as you want, and like if this thing kicks out something to another collider, then it's going to collide. So for instance, if I have a primitive here and you know, say that, let me turn off this this emitter rotation. Let me move this thing. So now we have this this stuff. Let's just okay. It's a bit to get right. Let's see. So okay. So we've got this thing. I'm not sure what's going on with this line force. Okay. So let's do a push strength, and we've got that. We got that. Say -90. We can do Alt. Okay, so that's going the wrong way. Okay, yeah. So from here, if we had this Taurus up here. Oh, and by the way, like, see how I don't know which one is the Taurus? We can go here and we can say, oh shit, no I can't. Fix it, programmers, fix it. You're supposed to be able to name your primitives. Like that, like so. I don't know. So see, then you can say like Taurus Collider or whatever. And one thing that we haven't shown yet, because we don't have it, we'll be doing another stream soon, is we have plans for an entirely new timeline. Entirely new timeline. It's going to be sick. So sick. Can we save presets for the emitters and parts of the graph? It's the plan, especially like if you're in your volume node and you have like a specific, render, volume that you like or whatever, and you like it because it's thick, puffy black smoke or whatever, from like an oil fire. You can save that as a preset or something. But yeah, it's coming. Just a matter of time, and we hope that you can like group up nodes and save those as presets. And of course, you'll be able to save. Sorry, I had to burp. You'll be able to save the entirety of the graph as a preset and all that stuff. So, yeah. Other than that, I think I'm gonna end the stream here. Hopefully you guys got to see a lot of cool stuff. You can see that colliders and all that stuff is coming, and yeah. So if you have any questions, just join our Discord server. Let me get a link for you guys. Right. So if we go here, what does this roadmap mean? We'll copy the link here, and you can see all the stuff that we're working on our roadmap. And so if I go over here to the live stream, there's our Discord server. Yeah, so that's somebody said would be cool to have in the graph node a node-like rotator which automatically rotates the mesh once the node is wired. If you probably change direction, maybe ping pong mode. Yeah, we hope to have various curves and stuff like that you can animate all this stuff. But yeah, go back if you joined the stream late. Just after the stream is up, the whole video will be up, and you'll be able to see the stream. And we'll probably have another stream sometime next week or something like that. I'm gonna guess. So yeah, we'll see. But thanks, guys. Really appreciate you joining the stream, and if you have any questions, stop by our Discord and ask us, or email support@jengafx.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Bye for now.